As many in the Flat Earth community are fully aware of, there was a debate between so-called Professor Dave and Witsit on the Flat Earth side of things, and this was not as bad as the complete debacle between so-called Professor Dave and Wimpy Weiss, David Weiss, as you see here. David Weiss completely embarrassed, completely humiliated in front of millions upon millions of people. 5.5 million people have seen this complete embarrassment of Flat Earth with so-called Flat Earth Dave, who's not even a Flat Earther. He's a Flat Earth actor. Now, as far as Professor Dave, I'm going to get more into him, and this is what it's really about. Who's not obviously a real professor, as you see here, basically a globe troll, nothing more than a globe actor. There is no globe. And as far as, again, him being a professor, he got his degree out of a Cracker Jack box. Now he's on YouTube spouting that he's a so-called professor. Give me a break. Now, there's two aspects of the so-called debate that I want to cover, where so-called Professor Dave mentions star trails prove the globe, which is 100% false, and he also mentions gravity, which we'll get into later. But first off, this is a message to all the fanboys of Professor Dave, so-called Professor Dave. He's going to get completely destroyed, completely annihilated with the whole concept that he tries to push, that again, star trails prove the globe. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a listen here at the dialogue between fake Professor Dave and Witsit regarding star trails on the so-called globe.
I'm asking you on your flat plane, explain the observations of the celestial sphere. In the north, you get counterclockwise rotation. In the south, you get clockwise rotation. Explain that to me on your default flat plane. Explain it.
Yeah, so the counterclockwise and clockwise direction is super simple. It's based on looking different directions. Your better question is, why does it go around a singular point, is what you're trying to say?
No. I'm asking about the direction. I'm asking about the direction.
Just looking opposite directions would make them go the opposite directions. They all go east to west.
If you put a clock on your ceiling, which way can you face to make the hands go counterclockwise? Tell me which way you can face.
Not analogous. The stars drop.
It is, though, because the hands on a clock... The hands on a clock.
You don't get it.
Right?
You don't get it. The stars drop due to perspective, so we're actually looking out towards them, not directly up.
Which depends on your latitude, right? Depends on your latitude. If you're at the equator, they're going from horizon to horizon.
Wait, do you agree that if I was looking out and something was spinning one way, and then I looked at it from the other direction, it'd look like it was spinning the opposite way?
No, it wouldn't. It would.
Now, this is the part where you're going to see fake Professor Dave get completely destroyed. First off, let's take a listen to what he says here about, quote, misinformation.
But I think it's the number one problem in the world is misinformation, and that people can't seem to figure out what's true.
And that's where we get to the misinformation from fake Professor Dave. Let's take a look here at this one website called Photo Pills regarding star trails. This one specifically from the so-called Southern Hemisphere. This one from the Northern Hemisphere. And this one from the equator. Let's take a look first at the star trails from the so-called Southern Hemisphere. Let's read the text from the website. Again, photopills.com. Depending on the direction you're aiming the camera, you'll get all these different star trail patterns. The first perspective is looking south. Of course, it's going to go clockwise. But take a look at the variance of the star trails depending which way you're looking. I'm not talking about, for example, here, looking at the flat earth model, looking above. Talking about being at ground level, looking up. Completely different. And as you can see, northeast, going in the complete opposite direction. Again, due to perspective, the position you're looking at. Now the so-called Northern Hemisphere, same thing. The stars are going counterclockwise when you're looking north. But again, looking at all the different patterns depending on which direction you're looking, specifically here with southwest. Now it appears to go clockwise opposed to counterclockwise. Now from the equator, let's take a look. Same thing. Depending on the direction you're looking at, you're going to get different results. And obviously these are graphic illustrations. Let's take a look at actual video footage from Coonabarra brand, Australia, in the so-called Southern Hemisphere. Let's get right to it and take a look at the footage. And this is looking west. And obviously you're going to see these star trails going clockwise. Now let's look at the star trails looking north. And obviously you're going to see a big difference going counterclockwise. So what does Professor Dave have to say about this? Obviously, I just completely destroyed this fake professor when it comes to star trails, so-called proving the globe Earth. And this is going to be very revealing for so-called Professor Dave's fans on his page. Millions upon millions of supporters, subscribers on his YouTube channel. He spills the beans himself during this podcast, this live stream with Derek Myth Vision. And definitely, this says it all. Take a listen.
Topics I know nothing about, but I hire experts in the field to write me the scripts, and then consultants to look at the scripts and look at the finished animations and make sure it's all good, right? I'm not professing to be an expert, honestly, in any academic field. And then the stuff that I don't understand, I have people who do understand it explaining it to me.
My best advice for a fake Professor Dave is to fire your scriptwriters and your consultants because they got this completely wrong. What a complete embarrassment. And people that, again, follow his channel, millions upon millions of people follow his channel, all deceived. Don't know this guy is just talking a bunch of BS. Doesn't even know that these so-called Southern Hemisphere star trails, how they work. And he claims this debunks the flat earth. No way. Absolutely not. So again, just one aspect that fake Professor Dave is debunked on 100% now. On this aspect of the so-called debate, the topic of gravity is brought up, and it's very easy to explain. The problem with these two individuals, with fake Professor Dave and Witsit, is it's a bunch of word salad on both sides of it. If you can't explain something simple enough, you don't know it well enough, and that's the case with both of these individuals. I'll let them speak, then I'll break it all down.
Gravity conversation. Gravity. Let's do electric gravity.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
Talk about everything.
Why doesn't anything fall up, Austin? Why doesn't anything fall up? Electromagnetism is both attractive and repulsive, right? So some things are attracted to the Earth. Why isn't anything repelled from the Earth? Why doesn't it fall up to the other Gaussian surface or whatever you want to talk about? Why doesn't anything fall up?
So first of all, so radial distribution of a sphere would not allow you to have equipotential parallel surfaces that are 100 volts per meter.
That's typical Austin Witsit. Just a bunch of word salad. Explain it simply, Austin. Why don't you just make it very simple so a 5-year-old or 85-year-old can understand? The root word of gravity, where does it come from? The etymology from Latin, gravis meaning heavy, then gravitas meaning weight or seriousness. Then in the late 15th century, you have gravity. So in simple terms, gravity means weight. That very simple. And the best way to explain it is here with these clouds in the sky. What's happening here is you have a medium. The heavier things are, obviously, they fall. The reason the clouds are in the sky at this particular altitude is because they weigh the same as the medium they're in. Once they get heavier, they drop. It rains. It's that very simple. Things that go up, obviously, they're lighter than the medium they're in. It's all very simple, but again, all this word salad on both sides of the coin, Witsit never explains it properly, and it just adds to confusion. I explain it very simply. And talking about gravity, I'm going to play this clip by Dr. Michikaku. He talks about the foundation of gravity. It's basically something they just made up. And in conclusion, I'm going to play several clips on so-called gravity. And with all the lies, they have to give us the truth. This is Freemason Duality when it comes to Michikaku. And the duality concept they work off, again with Freemasonry. They just gave us all lies. They're not working off their whole entire principle of Freemason Duality. Let's get right to it with Michikaku explaining gravity and how it was made up.
So what is pushing this? Newton didn't know. So Newton simply threw his hands up and said, I don't know. So I'm going to invent something called gravitational pull.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
Why are you sitting in your chair today?
Does gravity pull you to the floor? No. There is no such thing as gravitational pull. We lied to you.
First of all, we are born scientists. When we're born, we wonder what's out there. We begin to wonder about the sun, life, the stars, what makes the oceans, the weather. We're born scientists. And then something happens. When we hit the danger years of junior high school and high school, that's when it's literally crushed out of us.
Those are the worst.
Every little flower of curiosity, said Einstein, is crushed by society itself. Because we have to learn all these facts, figures, memorization, we think that memorization is science. And that's not true at all. In science, we always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you go make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
John, chapter 9, verse 25. Whereas once I was blind, now I can see. Now I can see.